Hi everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own finger paints. Here's what you'll need: some water, some flour or cornstarch, a bowl, little pots to split your paint up, and food coloring. You could use true food coloring or Kool-Aid packets. If you're using Kool-Aid packets, use less flour. So you're going to want to start first by adding your flour. Add less than the paint that you want to make so that as you go through to even out the mixture, you don't end up with too much. So then after you put your flour, you want to add water. You want to, again, start small so that you can even the consistency out as you go. So then we're going to mix it up.
That's what I did yesterday.
So I don't have any true measurements for this because it varies based on how much paint you want to make.
About it well enough before I made it.
Though you're going to end up using more flour than water so that the paint isn't too runny. So you want to make sure that you scrape all the excess flour off the bottom of the bowl so that you can really see the consistency. So this is way too gloopy. You definitely want it to have more of a paint-like consistency, obviously. So I'm going to add more flour too because I know that I'm going to want to make more paint because I didn't start off with very much. But I'm going to add a good more amount of water because I also added more flour. So I'm going to stir again. And you just want to keep stirring. Like I said, you want to make sure that you scrape all the excess off the bottom so that you don't have any left over when you go to split it out. And always make sure you ask your parents what it's okay to use. So this here, it's a little too runny. I want it to fall off the spoon, but I don't want it to run. So I'm going to add just a little bit more flour because I don't want to end up with too much extra paint because I don't want to be wasteful. So I'm going to mix some more. So this is starting to shape up really well. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour because I don't want it to be too runny. But always use whatever ratio or amount you think works best for you. So this is a much better consistency. It still falls off the spoon, but it's not a liquid because I want it to be a little less liquidy than I want for my paint because the food color is going to change the consistency as well because I'm using a liquid. If you're using a powdery food coloring like the Kool-Aid packets, you're going to want it to be a little bit runnier than you expected. So here I am portioning it out. I made one big batch so I can mix in the colors that I want separately instead of making several different batches based on color. This is just a little more efficient way to do it. If you prefer to do it that way, that's fine. But again, be careful with how much you're making because you don't want to be wasteful. Here we go. So I have 3 food colorings that you saw, and I'm going to split this into 4 because even though I only have those 3 colors, I'm going to use them to make the colors that I want, which you can mix any colors, but you'll see how I'm going to do mine in just a second. So there we are, my 4 little bowls. So I have yellow food coloring. I'm going to put that in this one. and mix it with blue food coloring in order to make green. Then I'm also going to put this blue in here and mix it with red in order to make purple. Then I'm going to put my red in here. I'm not going to do as much as I did in the others because I actually wanted to make pink with the white base. But I'm also adding it to this one because I'm going to mix it with the yellow to make orange. Oops, drop that there. So now I'm going to take my spoon and I'm going to mix this all up. But first I'm going to clean it off so I don't make my hand messy, and I'm actually going to stir it here. I'm going to start with this one. You can already see on my spoon a little bit the green color is starting to come out. So here we are, it's making that nice green color. I want to mix it thoroughly because I don't want any white swirls in it. I want it to be green all the way through. Just like we scraped the flour through in the bowl, I want to scrape all the food coloring through so it's the same throughout. So now I'm pretty happy with that color. So I'm going to wipe my spoon off so it doesn't affect the color in any of the other bowls. Now I'm going to mix what's going to be purple. And for this one I mixed blue and red. And once again I'm going to scrape it through so it's not a swirly color. Now keep in mind these paints are going to be a different consistency than you're probably used to in finger paint and will take a little bit longer to dry. And they'll dry differently than they're used to. There we go, mixing it through. And now you can add more you can add more different food coloring drops to it if you're not happy with the color you see. But like I said, always start with less than you think to start because it's easier to add more. And so now I'm mixing what's going to be pink. And like I said, I just didn't add as much red food coloring because it is the white base and that's going to make it more of a pinkish color. I could add more red to make it a deeper color though. Here we go, mixing once again. And make sure you ask your parents before you do this activity because depending on the kind of color that you use, it could stain the dishes. Even though the flour base makes the food coloring less likely to transfer. So now last one is our orange. And I did this one by mixing the red and yellow food coloring. But you could mix and match any colors you want if you want to just stick with the primary colors or even make up your own colors. That's totally fine. It's about whatever you want to paint with. Just make sure that you're not using too much because you don't want to be wasteful. And you can always go back and make more. So now I'm going to make sure that I clean up after myself. And that was great. We made our own finger paints. So the reason this was sustainable was that we saved a little bit of our carbon footprint by not getting in our car and going to the store to buy our own finger paints, which were packaged in their own plastic and transported to the store and made in a factory. And all kinds of things that leave a footprint. Instead, we made them using things we already had. So it was a little bit along the same lines of recycling. But this is how we made it 2 activities. Because now not only did you get to make your own finger paints, now you get to go and paint with them. Everyone have a good day and remember to do everything you can to be sustainable. And make sure you always clean up after yourself, ask your parents' permission, and wash your hands.